Oh, let me tell you something. Bustin' makes me feel good.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Blockbusting, the podcast where we love to hate the movies. I'm your host, Jay Light. Joining me today, my guest, Gary Petersen.
How are you, Jay? I'm a big fan, long-time listener.
Dude, big fan of yours, too.
Uh-huh.
We met, Gary's a comic. We met, was that Golden Spike last year?
Oh, yeah, Utah, Salt Lake
Good
City.
old Salt Lake City.
The underbelly of that world, the crime scene.
Very seedy.
They had 3 homeless people in the whole city.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, this is the rough part of town.
But they were right there, right in front of us. And we're like, oh, yeah.
And there's Mike and Dave and Bill, the 3 homeless fellas.
And they each showed up to the shows, great audience members.
They were very polite, respectful, well-dressed, washed. They had part-time jobs.
Yeah.
Some of the most professional homeless people I've ever seen in my life.
That's the homeless life in Salt Lake City.
It was a fun experience, and they discontinued that festival, I think, because we did it.
Yep.
We ruined it.
Almost immediately afterwards. Well, the problem was that we performed in a mall that was closing down, and they converted stores into showrooms. And I'm guessing that the mall was probably like, this isn't sustainable for us. Let's try and put actual stores back into this mall.
Not a once-a-year irreverent comedy gathering of mostly Los Angeles-based comedians.
Exactly. So shout out to the Golden Spike Comedy Festival for bringing us together.
R.I.P.
And R.I.P. And R.I.P. to my respect for you when you told me about this movie that you don't like, which is 8th Grade.
Yes. I did not like
What's
this
your
movie.
deal with 8th Grade?
And I know immediately the reaction is he doesn't like women. He doesn't get it. This movie is, he's missing the point. Maybe it was hyped up too much. Let me get a couple things straight. I get a beautiful meal can be made for many people that love it and enjoy it. And then I sit at a meal and it makes me sick. That movie perfectly cast in a lot of ways, but it doesn't know what it is. A lot of the movie.
Okay.
It struggles with its identity. The movie's about Kayla Day, for those of you that don't know.
Right.
This is the prequel to Lady Bird. This movie is just, it's not a drama. It's not a comedy. It's just an awkward, 2 hours.
That's not 2 hours long.
How long is it?
It's 94 minutes.
Feels like 2 hours.
I've got so much that I disagree with you on this front, right from the jump. But carry on.
She's a young girl who's super not outgoing in public,
right,
but introverted, and she makes little YouTube. You don't even know if they're YouTube. Just she has video confessions.
Right.
You don't know if they go out, who likes them, or whatever.
There's a scene where she shows them being posted to YouTube, but they all have no views.
Okay, so that's and I identified with her for sure,
Mm-hmm.
and I identified with awkwardness in this movie. And I think there's brilliant scenes in it. But as it went on, I found myself saying what is this? What is this about? Is it about being a 13-year-old girl? Is it about being 13 and awkward? I couldn't figure out what the hell the movie was about.
Oh,
and there
okay.
were some movie parts where I was like, it's a movie, but come on. If I were sitting at a table with my dad and I was 13 years old and I kept my headphones on and he asked me questions, my single dad, my single father, whose wife is just gone. They've just erased a mother from the movie, and they're obviously not going to be cramming in dialogue where mom left us 2 years ago. They're not going to over-explain that shit.
Right.
It's just kind of like she's gone. We don't talk about it.
They bring it up once in almost near the end of the movie.
And it's stripped in as it would be in real life. So
right.
It's very realistic. However, if I am the provider, if I am your father, your only parent, the one that's here, I feed you, I clothe you, I shelter you, and you put fucking headphones on and ignore me at my fucking table while you listen to Enya. What kid listens to Enya? That's this 2018, right? That's the year this takes, with 2017, 2018.
Yeah, I would say it's probably 2018.
I'm just like, that dad is not a dad. That's a friend. And I get, I think he wouldn't act like that where he just let everything slide.
Well, okay. So before we dive more into the relationship between Kayla and her dad in this movie, which is obviously, I think, one of the most important parts of the movie because of how prominent it is, given how spare the rest of the movie is. Let's back up a little bit. You did sum the movie up very nicely. If you have not seen it yet, it is a movie just came out very recently, directed by Bo Burnham in his feature film directorial debut. Plot follows the life and struggles of an 8th grader played by Elsie Fisher during her last week of classes before embarking for high school. Was well regarded at Sundance. A lot of praise received for Bo Burnham's script, direction, and Elsie Fisher's performance. It's a real quick, light movie. It's getting a lot of critical praise, and there's a lot. You are the first person who I've heard to track this movie.
Yeah, and I'm a 30-year-old man that sat alone in a movie about an 8th grade girl. So I know how odd my point of view is bringing it to this.
But that's why I wanted to have you on to talk about it.
But I again, people can like a thing. Not everybody has to like a thing. And I'm not going against the grain. You know those people that are just like, what's a hamburger?
Right.
Fuck hamburgers.
You're not being like deliberately obtuse here.
Right.
It sounds like you have from what I'm understanding, based off of your initial foray into this podcast, is that you have a big conflict with the way that the father-daughter relationship is portrayed in this movie.
I don't think Dad's real. I think he's full of shit. I think he's a friend, not a dad. And there are some things Kayla does because you're what, 13? You take chances, but that type of character, for example, there's the pool party.
Right.
The pool party scene is teed up really well.
Yeah.
And there are things in this movie that I'm like, oh, they nailed it. That's really great. I can love a thing that I did not enjoy.
Yeah.
They tee up this really vulnerable moment where you're really essentially you're all in your underwear and it's all your underwear is going to be wet for the first time in front of another human being. That's what like being 13 is.
Yeah.
You start to be aware of a little bit of sexuality. You start to be aware of like how, she kind of tiptoes into how she feels about this other boy that she's obsessed with. So there's this big buildup with the music and the fear of going out in front of everybody that she doesn't really know or interact with.
Yeah, especially given the fact that there's like this same music. It's the longest music cue in the whole movie of the actual score where she goes into the house and their music is starting to build up and then she has this anxiety attack in the bathroom when she's changing into her swimsuit, and then it cuts back to outside and it's still playing this kind of like bombastic, nerve-wracking music that makes total sense for the scene.
And it's beautiful. And I related that perfectly because I was a fat kid with bitch tits, and it was, just like the Costco cheese Danish palette that I would polish off before going out in the world every day. I would swim with my shirt on a lot of the time as a kid. So I was like, I get that. I get her awkwardness, but it's got to be worse for her. But as the party goes on, there's a couple moments where I'm like, what? Like when she sings, like karaoke.
Oh yeah, the end.
I don't think that would have happened. I don't see that character doing that at all. I was like, she's so introverted. She's so like a fly on the wall. She didn't even want to really go to this. It was kind of like, maybe.
I don't know about that. I feel like based on my interpretation of Kayla Day as a character, is that the whole reason that we're shown her making these YouTube videos where she's talking about being confident in yourself and being essentially trying to be a motivational speaker on a child's level.
And real Kyle ceasing it up.
Yeah, exactly. A real Tony Robbins with unicorn stickers and barrettes. Tony Robbins, if she got her ears pierced at Claire's. And what she's trying to do is to put on this vibe that she clearly does not have in real life. And there's these moments, as like at the party where it happens, in contrast directly to the high school scene where she does not have to put on something. It shows, to me at least, the way I viewed it, is that she is finally she wanted to go to the party, but she wasn't getting invited because she was getting mean girled out by that bitch Kennedy. Fucking Kennedy.
Named.
Perfect name. And the fact that she is so obsessed with Kennedy's life by the way that she would look at her Instagram feed and see the lives of all of Kennedy and all these girls that she was hanging out with. She wanted to be a part of it, but she had no actual means of being a part of it other than putting on this fake persona online. And then she finally grows up the guts after the dude she has a crush on And again, great music cue anytime he shows up.
The dumb face,
and they play that
weird hair.
dumb face and the weird hair, and they just play like that weird club soundtrack kind of music. And then she's like, I gotta be this fake person that I'm not. And I remember because in the karaoke scene, the audio in very Terrence Malick-y kind of fashion is the audio from one of her YouTube videos talking about, hey, you need to be confident and be outgoing at a party and that kind of stuff. So it's her trying to put on this vibe still before she realizes later on in the movie that she doesn't need to be anybody but herself.
Yeah, and I watched it and I thought, like, if that character really did that at that moment after she stopped singing, the rest of the room might have like quietly destroyed her confidence with no reaction. Like, just not, like when they're giving presents and she gives her like a math game. Yeah. And she's like, cool, great.
Oh, yeah.
And everybody's like, what the fuck? I feel like that what the fuck continuation would have happened again.
I feel like it would have too. I'm with you.
But you don't know.
But you don't know.
It's just one of those. I had so many questions at this movie. It didn't answer it. And it made me not yearning for anything else, because at the end I was just like, I could give a fuck about this character.
I think that, and to further your point a little bit about the dad-friend dynamic, I do think the dad is trying to act like a friend for a lot of this movie. Mm-hmm. And I think that is what makes the scene when when she's burning her time capsule.
That was ridiculous.
But it makes so much, because then he has to be a dad. Because she's getting so heavy with him in a way that she has actively avoided for the entire rest of the movie. And she doesn't have to be, she can drop the artifice, or he can, or rather he can drop the artifice of, I'm trying to be your friend and trying to be a cool single dad. Oh no, I actually have to be like a real dad now.
Yeah, like, again, even if you were my friend dad, say I'm not the dad that I would expect to be in that situation. Mm-hmm. This guy's, a total, like, he's got Schitt's Creek. He's got a daughter and a whole life to support, and he's just put on this facade.
Right, and he's trying to, get the PTA mom. The PTA moms are all like, "Oh, what's up with your dad? Is he coming to this party?" Yeah, that little vibe of they would have an affair with him type thing, right? Or maybe they feel bad, they want to include him, right? That was like, okay, that's sort of real, but to have a daughter go to her dad and be like, I want to burn some stuff in the backyard. And he's like, sounds good to me. Like, he just rolls with it. That's the kind of thing that I would want my dad to do, though.
Would you think your dad would do it?
No, I guarantee he wouldn't. Well, because I think there's a lot of, what is it with teenagers and wanting to set things on fire? Did you go through that phase when you were a teen?
Oh, yeah.
I did too.
I almost got arrested because I did that. We went up the woods in Massachusetts, a lot of woods around there. Not surprising, a guy like me that's in the woods a lot. Mm-hmm. We made Molotov cocktails and tried to make napalm out of styrofoam and gasoline.
Oh, yeah.
And played around with that. Yeah, threw it at dry brush with no water or fire extinguishers and filmed it.
Yeah, and then that's what you do.
Put it on MySpace, and clearly you can see all of us burning things. And then we found out a week later somebody got arrested for doing shit like that. Posting I was like, take it down, Sean, take it down. We gotta take it down. He's like, but it's done so well. I was like, cut me out of it, and put the flames back up, and then keep the soundtrack of Under Oath. Like, keep it up there because it's cool.
There's just something about fire. Like, I remember I was a camp counselor for a long time.
Oh, really?
We would go, and while I was a camper at the summer camp, one of our things we would go do, we had an island we would go camp out on. And we'd take canoes to this island, so we'd just be isolated like 13, 14-year-olds. And
you were how old?
I was, 13 one year, 14 the next year.
So you were a counselor?
No. This is when I was a camper still. Counselor, I'm not allowed to burn as much stuff. as I am as a camper, because I have to set an example for the younger children. Camper, who gives a shit?
Yeah.
I'll burn a fucking milk jug. I'll burn it and listen for that cool drip that the plastic makes as it melts off the jug.
And inhale it.
Yeah.
Just wonder, is this poison?
Oh, man. Oh, yeah, dude. Of course. We did it one time. We took a bottle of steak sauce and we just put it in the fire, and it got so heated up that the steak sauce boiled and it shot the cap off of the steak sauce bottle.
Oh, my God.
Just shot flaming hot steak sauce right across
You ever burn a battery?
my body. No.
It explodes, and then this massive, like, acid pops out of it, and a flame goes up. That's fun.
But yeah, and I had an RA in college who told us that he wasn't allowed to legally set a campfire because he one time accidentally started a forest fire when he was like 17 or 18. And so he was federally barred from starting fire or like owning matches or a lighter. So teens like fire, man. I get it. Again, if dad is being dad friend, then he's probably like, yeah, sure, totally, go set this stuff on fire.
And this is his moment where his daughter let down the guard, because in the movie there's a lot of like, fuck you, dad, my headphones are on, fuck you, I'm slamming the door, I'm upset. He's trying to console her. She's pushing her back after this very traumatic moment.
Yes.
That was like a really uncomfortable, but done really well. Again, I can appreciate a thing I hate.
Yeah, that was the thing I was going to ask you about, is what you thought about the car scene in particular.
So yeah, and we can talk spoilers.
Yeah, we can talk spoilers.
So
it's cool.
There's a definite like older boy, high school. She's hanging out with a high school kid she's paired up with, who thinks she's cool. It's the first time she really makes like a friend.
Right.
And then like there is this super real feeling, super uncomfortable, gross dude in that group that's pressuring her. And like his shirt comes off. Yeah,
he stops the car. He's giving her a ride home. Stops the car, says, "Let's play truth or dare." He guides the whole game. His shirt comes off. He's like, "I dare you to take your shirt off," and then she shuts him down in a scene that is so crazy tense for a movie that had almost no stakes for the whole rest of the movie.
Exactly. I feel like if this was 2017, really, the rest of the movie would have been an investigative trial into this boy's behavior. But the sad reality, so many women have these horrible experiences that they just have to bury and can't talk about because of fear of not being believed or needing a mountain of evidence.
Right.
And it's a fucking nightmare for them. But I watch that scene and watch her get so upset and take it all inward. And he berate her? He's like, you don't want to be like out of practice or
right. He flips it in the way that, based on having seen this movie and then talked to other women about it, about the way that situations that they went through around that age, or maybe a little bit older, but still with a definite age gap between them and whatever dude was in that situation. Of the line is basically, "Oh, I'm doing this to try and help you, so you know what you're doing. You don't want to lose your virginity to an asshole." Yeah, that's the mind frame.
And fuck those guys that exist.
Those guys.
Me and you, I'm gonna go out on a limb. I think they were sexually very similar, and I don't know. No, you're a stud. I've always had the problem of not being able to pull the trigger on any sort of date environment thing where like the girl is basically laying in my bed and I'm just like, "You want to go bowling?" Like I've been, and she's like, "Don't you like me?" And
bowling alley's closed. It's 1 a.m, Gary. Come on.
I just I respect you and I want you to meet my family. And I'm not a Mormon. I'm not Catholic either. Like I have no religion backing for this weird guilt. It's all been a fear in my mind of ever going too far to make someone feel uncomfortable.
Oh, see, that's the thing. You needed to have religion in your life, because the religion is what I rebelled against that allowed me to get laid when I was 16.
God damn you.
See, you messed it all up. Your family is screwed up from the get-go.
Seriously.
Petersen family.
They were too busy on Sundays. I've always been like, even in my fantasies when I imagine some sort of of sexual happenings, the girl has to say, "I consent." It's a weird thing. I don't know why. I don't know why, but it's a fear of like not wanting to hurt anyone. But see,
that's a good place to approach from.
In my sexuality,
yes. I mean, I think that's a place, especially. Okay, given the general, I would say probably the general baseline of. How old were you when you lost your virginity?
I'll let you know. It was 18.
Okay, it's normal.
Yeah, and it was a definite go on 3 levels, and that was and she never talked to me again.
Oh.
And I think we're out of time. No, it was as is typical everybody's first time. I think in a lot of ways it's awkward, terrible. You don't know the person or whatever, and it sucks.
Mm-hmm.
And then you try to play the Who's Bob O'Reilly, but it's just too whimsical for that.
Right.
So you switch to Side to the Wall Live, open with little "Hey You," and you get to I think the word "you," and you're done. But I think that I definitely saw that scumbag guy moment, and that moment going back to the story, scumbag guy moment. She shuts down. And I was like, what a good actress. She's a killer actress. And
amazing actress.
No one, I mean, I didn't cast the fucking movie, but I don't think you could have anyone do that better than that character's Kayla O'Dabler's named Elsie.
Elsie Fisher, yeah.
Elsie Fisher crushes it.
So great in this movie.
The other characters, I thought, could use a little work.
I really like the dad, though. I think the dad did a really great job. And Kennedy, too.
Kennedy was good
fucking
as a
Kennedy
shithead.
Graves.
She was very... could have been a little more mean, or could have been a little more involved in the story. I wanted something to happen because, like, that dad going to the dad fire scene. This is the part where he can be a dad and bond, and there is like kind of a minor moment of digging in or bonding or mentoring.
Do you think that's minor?
What happened in that scene?
What happens in that scene is where she has to go, "Do I make you sad?" Which is a question that, like, I'm hearing it is a very heartbreaking thing that you have to ask your parents or your dad, your cool dad friend. Do I make you sad that I am your daughter? Like, are you disappointed in me to the point where you are sad every day? That's heavy.
It is heavy
because because then you have to have the moment where he's so eloquently, and this goes back to Bo Burnham putting on a solid script of having to reassure her that he still loves her and that he supports her, and B, that she is totally allowed to go through this like complete wash of new feelings and not understanding what she's supposed to be doing or not, or trying to be, and basically, in so many words, tell her, hey, it's okay to feel the way that you feel, but it does not reflect on the way I think about you, and I don't want you to put that on yourself.
Interesting.
That's the way I looked at it anyway.
And if there's anybody that knows what it's like to be a 13-year-old girl, it's Bo Burnham.
Oh, for sure it is.
Did you think about this? Considering what Bo Burnham has accomplished, is this movie really about his journey in comedy? Because I thought that was a really interesting thing of he's an awkward type of kid, and then he uses YouTube and he becomes sort of a star. We don't really know if she's going to be a star or not or whatever, but it's an outlet for her to be her as most best self or whatever that persona she wants to be, the independent, like life advice type person. And the mean people, the mean girls, because what is comedy but really a big high school in a lot of ways?
Of course, absolutely.
Or
it's a giant high school.
It's a junior high school when you're starting, right?
I mean, especially the thing is, and I think that this, what I think is the thing that speaks to so many people about who have seen this movie and gets them on a level is that it's pretty universal, I think, that not eighth grade specifically, but middle school is a really, really awful time in most people's personal growth and development. Like, if you're listening to this podcast and you were well liked and like successful in 8th grade,
Got it all figured out.
you're probably like working at a gas station in your hometown, and you peaked super young.
That's a little generalization, but
you know
I would
what?
100% agree with you.
You know, Kennedy Graves is probably working at and when she gets older, she's managing a Sephora at the mall. But who knows?
She could be a stay-at-home mom.
She could be a stay-at-home mom.
Where do you see?
I watched this movie, and I remembered how it felt to be that age and to want to make friends with people who didn't like me, but I wanted to so desperately be liked that I would go and hang out with people who were actively mean to me. I remember trying to do stuff that essentially there's a lot of self-sabotaging going on, and I really identified with that. And I think that that's something that, whether or not this is an allegory for Bo Burnham's comedy career or not, I think that that's something that I'm guessing he probably felt too.
Yeah.
And felt awkward and felt not like he had a place, but so desperately wanting a place.
Yeah. He skipped the line and people got mad at him. Like he figured out some sort of magic secret on YouTube for being able to not go into a comedy open mic and be filling theaters and on TV. And people were saying he's brilliant, and all these jaded people who have been at mics and stuff saying, well, that's not really real comedy, or he's not that good. And they shit on him. And he's like, I think in a way, because he wrote and directed this.
Right.
So I think that it could definitely be juxtaposed with his own journey, where like that moment where Kayla explodes onto them like, why are you doing this? I'm just trying to do this thing. Like, and she just yells at them when she's in line. Like, I'm cool. Like, I'm all right.
Oh yeah. And that's also one of my favorite, just a sidebar, my favorite twists in that whole movie is where you see the fucking douchebag kid, Aiden, walk out and she goes to follow him, you think, and then stop.
Yeah.
To yell at Kennedy and her friends.
That was well done. And again, I like a lot of this movie at points, but I was like, together, it was just, it didn't know what it is at times. And I wanted something to happen.
See, I
wanted a bank robbery. I wanted Thanos to show up.
I think I'm going to say this is the problem with your interpretation of it, with the utmost respect.
And by all means.
I think that this is not a movie where you should expect something to happen. Because this is a kind of in the sort of Linklater-y mold of like 90s style hangout movies where it's like, we're going to see a couple of days and this is what happens in those days. And it's so minute and the plot is there. It's not a big life-changing thing. It doesn't have a big grandiose impact, but it's small and it's a story that is hyper-focused and told very well. Even though it doesn't have a bank robbery or Thanos showing up or
what's the climax?
The climax that there is, you know what? The climax of the movie is her. It's, you know, it happens somewhere around the time when she burns the time capsule. Because then she gets to release her old ideal of herself. I mean, her watching that tape of herself where she's like, what's your life like in 8th grade? Do you have a boyfriend? What's his name like? And this is happening just after she's been propositioned in a car by an older boy.
Real bottom. She's reached a bottom in her emotions and like her experiences. This is the worst time for her in the movie, right?
Right.
That little slice.
Yeah. And that makes sense because that's also the part where you can tell it's the most emotionally raw part of the whole movie because of her reaction and the fact and the way she internalizes it and the way that you can so obviously see her internalizing it and hear her internalizing it with the dialogue. And then you cut to no music, more voiceover from her YouTube videos while she avoids her dad, runs to her room, closes the door, and then you just get this flash of the dad opening the door and her like sobbing, crumpled in the fetal position on the other side of her bed in the dark.
Yeah. I just I'll tell you what I loved about this.
Tell me what you loved about this movie.
Because I've definitely, again, I don't hate everything about this movie. I just, the reaction I felt to it, I watched and I was like, that was felt like 2 hours, was 90 minutes of my life, and it's gone. And I didn't, and I hope I'm wrong. And I hope I'm not like missing some secret. I watched Citizen Kane one time and said, what a piece of shit. And then I rewatched it. I was like, man, I'm wrong. And I almost hope I'm wrong with this movie because everybody really loves it and sees something that I don't. What I did love and I thought was so, like, you could not have made this more perfect was the awkward date between her and Gabe, the kid.
Oh, God, that's such a great scene.
And you didn't want to remake My Girl and have like a bunch of bees kill a kid with glasses who vaguely looked like me when I was growing up. Made me cry my eyes out, by the way. Just Macaulay dying because everybody said, oh, you look just like Macaulay Culkin. And then I watched him die on screen. I was like, I'm going to fucking die. That's when I learned mortality from My Girl. Alone. I watched it alone. Too.
Oh, great.
I'm like 5. Everyone else is away. And I'm watching just bawling.
You look just like that guy.
And
you look like the dead kid.
And he will be dead. And is the only girl who Evada Sultanfuss entertained him. I thought what you could have made this movie have a little bit of, I don't know, a little bit of a turn that would have hooked me better. And who cares about rewriting the movie? It was just more of a development between her and Gabe because there was that awkward date. And I was like, fuck, I love that. I was an awkward date and still am at times. I'm currently not on the market. But when I was, it was bad. Did you have an awkward 8th grade date? Like you could relate to that?
No, never.
You just smooth as
Here's
shit.
what I was not smooth at all. Until I actively kept track of how many girls I asked to be my girlfriend until I finally got one to say yes without a date. I got to like 15.
You'd cold call a girl. Hi, this is Jay, and I'd like you to be my girlfriend.
No, I just it's a cold approach at recess, man.
Oh, fuck, man.
Go up to the new girl before she knows who I am. Hey, do you want to go out with me? No? Okay.
You would say go out, not want to be my girlfriend?
Right.
Okay. That's a little less confrontational.
Right.
But still pretty confrontational for a 12, 13-year-old.
Right. I mean, and this is the kind of behavior that led me to research websites like becomeaplayer.com at age 14 and find out about the mystery method in pickup artist books at an age that doesn't make any sense for anyone to do that.
What was your best tip that you got from becomeaplayer.com?
I remember I downloaded this book I think I got it off of LimeWire. And there's this book. It's called Double Your Dating. And it said, this is such a like weird part of my origin story. No, I got the full PDF copy, baby. Okay. Thanks, David D'Angelo. And it's called Double Your Dating, and I downloaded it, and then it said you got to learn how to be cocky and funny. And that's how you get girls. And it said, if you don't know how to be funny, read Comedy Writing Secrets by Mel Hellitzer. And I read Comedy Writing Secrets at like age 15.
It's like written in the 40s, I think.
This was the 2nd edition, so it had been updated a little bit. Don't you worry. I still got it in my bookshelf back at home.
If you're opening for a ventriloquist...
Here's how you get into the greeting card writing business, kid. But I remember reading it and I was like, oh, comedy. I can be a funny person. And then that's where probably the first sparks of like me getting interested in stand up as an art form are.
That was the beginning.
Buried in me wanting to get girls.
To get girls. So many drawn to the light through that.
Right.
For me, I mean, just the raw attention of being able to be making people laugh with all their heads turned towards you. That was like, oh, this is a power and attention I enjoy.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I expressed myself doing that in high school after I read that book. Shit changed, man. What
was your move? If we were compared to Kayla in the movie, she has, her videos are her outlet.
Right.
And that's her little like outgoing, like, I'm going to be confident. I'm going to get talking head. Like I'm going to be an influencer almost.
Right. The thing that I did my junior and senior year, I mean, I was doing like theater and stuff in high school, and I was doing, I wound up taking class with a lot of friends of mine who were also very quick and funny and in theater. So we would be sort of class clowny and disrupt the class a little bit and do that. And we'd throw in lines every once in a while that our teachers would get mad at us about. And The big thing, there was this thing in my high school called Pep Boys. Like the auto parts store. And we would go, and basically every week we would have a pep rally for our football team before their game, or we'd do it before home game, so every other week. And our job was to write sketches that are like 10 minutes long. This is back before I knew that they were not called, before I knew they were called sketches, back when they were called skits.
Skits and bits with
Skits. And we would write these 10-minute long skits that mocked the football players and cheerleaders and teachers and the dance team and
topical stuff.
Very topical stuff. We would have some guys on the team who the Pep Boys squad. We had some of us who were, as they called back in the day, the theater fags. Mm-hmm. And we were the ones who actually knew how to be funny and write jokes and write like a plot and a structure. And then there were some guys who were friends with all of the football players, so they knew all of the dirt about like who was banging people on the 50-yard line and who all that crazy shit. And so we combined forces to write so much stuff that we would just put on this great show every week. And that was the badge of honor for me. That was when everything finally started I felt sort of like I'd found my place a little bit.
A little writer producer.
Yeah.
Young age. I'd worked the locker room circuit.
Oh, yeah?
Teachers started giving me time in class. Teachers that like me, and they're like, yeah, do a thing.
Really?
Do a little thing on Friday. I got nothing for a lesson. This is public school. I'm 30 years into this job, and I'm running the clock until this year. So you got 10 minutes on Friday. I'm like, cool. I'm running a contest. And but I would go around in the morning, and you'd hit certain sections, and I'd lay in a line type guy and be like, oh, that, this bullshit, this thing happened. And then I try to make all them laugh. I'm like, all right, good night, everybody. And I move on to the next, go to the next section down the hall. And I was almost like mayoral in that way. Where I was
interesting. You're going to see your constituents, you're just throwing in the line, making sure they like you.
Yeah,
photo ops, shaking hands, kissing babies.
Exactly. But that was my response to awkwardness. And I saw this movie, and I identified with so much of it. And then, again, maybe I don't know why I don't like it, aside from, I want to like it.
Maybe, do you think you don't like it because it brings you back to a time that's not fun to relive?
No, because I thought of that, and I was like, is it traumatic? Is it triggering those memories? I'm like, nah, I feel those memories, but I'm past them now because I am a 30-year-old adult. And if I can get past a pool party from 8th grade, then I'm not a man.
Nope.
I shouldn't own a car. But the awkwardness was well done. The weirdness was well done. The casting in some parts were well done. Maybe I didn't need a bank robbery or Thanos to make this work, but I needed something more. I get it. I needed a push in one direction or the other because it had 1 foot in drama, 1 foot in comedy, and I think that was its. You know what I think is the best coming of age type tale? I was about to ask. That was going to be you've heard this, the closing question, which is a movie you would recommend. So, what do you think is the best coming of age tale? Bad News Bears. The original? The original, of course. Okay. I think that tells. It's got these foul-mouthed, freakishly young kids who are starting to come into their bodies in ways, but they're all got that weird identity, like Kelly Leak and the girl. She's like, I'm becoming a woman now, and I'm going to be wearing a bra. Like, she's very conscious. Tatum O'Neal, right? I think so. And it's and you just got this lousy drunk, and you watch the movie now, and people are like, that wasn't the 70s. That's not how it was. I'm like, oh, yes, it was. I didn't grow up in the 70s, but my parents and people that have told me stories of yeah, we had the drunk coach, the guy that had the paper bag thing who would drive the kids around. Those guys existed for sure. But you see a little story happen. You see the struggles, you see the falls, and you see this thing that, spoiler alert, it teaches losing and that attitude of like, well, fuck you. We lost, but go fuck yourself. And it's raw and it's real and funny. And it has drama in it too.
Uh-huh.
That's got more harshness to it. Like the dad that beats the kid on the mound type thing.
God.
It's like, fuck. And people just let it happen. In this movie, I wanted more. And that's all. I think that's all I can say about like how to change it so I really loved it. And I'm saying all of this with respect to people that made the movie and were in it, because this is a long fucking endeavor. What fucking movie have I made? A student film that totally blows about science fiction brides that come to life? They're awful. It's awful. I have no talent or right to feel this way, but my opinion is about this thing is that it missed something. And it missed maybe one key thing. And I'm going to rewatch it. I'll give it another shot, and then I'll text you and say you're right.
Please do.
Because
I'll throw an addendum onto this podcast if you do that.
I certainly I will give it a fair shake anyway.
It's worth giving another shake.
But
you
I don't need to love this movie.
You don't need to. I don't think that anybody needs to love any movie. But I do think that you got a kind of interpretation of the movie where it sounds like you expected something different than what you wound up getting. So I hope that when you watch the movie again, that you are able to dispel that, as so often happens when people rewatch movies. You know, I've watched movies on second goes that I wind up liking a lot more or disliking because the expectation of that first watch is gone.
And Kings of Summer is another one.
Oh, I love the Kings of Summer.
It's such a wonderful movie.
So wonderful.
The parents in that are embarrassing and kind of plastic, but they're believable. Megan Mullally.
Yeah, Megan Mullally, Nick Offerman. Oh, he's so great as Joe's dad in that movie.
That movie really nails, I think, some spots of being awkward, weird, wanting to, hiding out in the woods, a major thing. You want to be isolated.
Yep.
I think the isolation in this movie is really well done.
The isolation in this movie is incredible. The scenes of her just sitting in the dark on her phone, avoiding everything and blocking the world out. Perfect.
What do you think happens to her? What happens to Kayla?
To Kayla?
Mm-hmm.
She learned to shed this old ideal of herself. And maybe she goes back to making YouTube videos, and maybe she doesn't, but I think in the end she winds up a lot more like that girl who she was shadowing than some even further outcasts, It's not like she's wearing a trench coat to school or anything and bringing whatever the 2020 version of an AK-47 is, or whatever, an AR-15. Kids can't get AKs, can they?
Probably.
Maybe by 2020 they'll be able to. Who knows? But yeah, I think
they'll take too many Graham videos with it. It'll be given away. Hey guys, I just got this new killing machine.
I think, it's so great. Like and subscribe, please. Post. I got more gun videos. I'm gonna go.
I slow motioned a watermelon that I shot. I hope you enjoy.
Please share. Tag a friend. Oh my God. Do you ever have a friend that you want to shoot in the face? Tag them, please.
I think you've got to be confident with your just a whole field of pictures of things. I think she goes either she ODs or she. No, I think she becomes the fly. She continues to be the fly in the wall throughout high school. She'll probably get a friend or two. Gabe will probably be a friend, a guy friend she goes to junior prom with, just so she doesn't go dateless.
Her and Gabe are going to make a bunch of weird videos together.
Yeah.
They're going to start collaborating, and then she's going to get into art school and go to RISD or something like that.
Yeah. She's going to end up being the social media manager at a startup on Venice Beach.
Right.
And they're going to love her, and she's just never going to go out with the work crew, and they're going to wonder, and her life will spiral downward. I've written the sequel, Bo. I don't know if you're listening, but
Bo, if you're listening, talk to Gary. He knows a thing or two about the fall from grace after being an 8th grade girl.
So what happened? So if I'm guessing what happens to Kayla, what's happening to Bo? What will happen to him? Probably make another movie that makes huge amounts of money that he deserves and earns, and I'm not jealous of it.
Doesn't sound like it.
I'm not jealous at fucking all. I'm eating an apple off a knife for those of you who can see.
Well, I hope you give it another watch. I really hope you do.
I really will.
And I can't wait to hear what you think of it the second time, whether you like it or dislike it.
And I hope you don't get sued by Ray Parker Jr. for your intro song.
Hey, it's okay, because I'm using a fair use version from another person. Thanks, Neil Cicierega. Gary, thanks for coming on today, man.
Thank you, Jay.
Where can the listeners find your work on the internets?
Comedy Gary P, I think, is my website. Fuck. I think that's it.
Comedy Gary P. That's
Comedy
all we
Gary
got.
P.
You can find me on the internet at Diet J on Twitter and Instagram. JLightComedy.com for show dates. And please leave a rating and a review, why don't you? You know, we're just trying to get this podcast up on the TV and film charts. Still haven't done it. I'm behind Gilbert Gottfried's amazing podcast.
I love that podcast.
I'm behind the Big Brother Gossip Show. Okay,
I think I've rated you. I rated you a while ago.
I appreciate that. So thank you for doing this. But what I'm saying is that there are too many Bachelor recap podcasts that are ahead of me on the podcast charts. I'm honestly pretty fucking sick and tired of it. So just go leave a rating and a review. And if I got any white hat hacker friends who want to help me out, go figure out how to take down some RSS feeds, and we'll figure it out. I got some Bitcoin in the way. I can send you.
Hell yeah.
Guys, this has been Blockbusting. Go see something good for a change.